IVM.
Business is that one word which always scared me. It always fascinated me, but always scared me. I was always worried about how do you go about having your own business? The little details, the little nuances that you have to keep in mind. I never thought I could actually do it. My idea of the future when I was studying, when I was doing my engineering, was that okay, you know what, I'm going to like work at a very high position. What work, I had no idea, but I'm going to work at a very high position. I will have a nice salary job, and that is how I'm going to live my life. But little did I know, I would be a future businessman. Now, I won't say I'm a great businessman, but I'm just in one of those phases where I'm learning the tricks of the trade. My business venture is Unlock. If you guys have no idea about it, let me introduce you to Unlock really quickly. Unlock is basically an online platform which I created when everything went off during the pandemic, the earliest stages of pandemic. We started with Instagram live sessions. I used to invite celebrities and other coaches, and we used to hold Instagram live sessions on my Instagram page. And we realized that there is a repeatability of the participants who were doing that. We did it for like 3 months, and in those 3 months we had a massive community of 100 people doing the same workouts and going through the entire same process of getting stronger, feeling vulnerable, feeling better after the workouts, enjoying music and whatnot. And then it just so happened that this entire community got shifted to Unlock, and now we are going to be completing 2 years in the next May. But now we have catered to more than 5,400 people. And it's overwhelming, to be honest. Business is overwhelming. Creating an entire ecosystem by yourself is overwhelming. And that's why I need to make sure that I'm learning. I'm learning from people who I've always looked up to. I'm learning from people who have done this before me. And one such individual is Arman. Arman is the owner of Sleepy Owl Coffee. If you guys don't know about Sleepy Owl Coffee, I'm pretty sure that you're not a coffee lover. Sleepy Owl is one of those startups which is doing phenomenally well in the coffee space. It has made coffee accessible for the masses, and it's a brand which you should be looking out for. And this particular conversation with Arman is going to be finding parallels between fitness, between entrepreneurship, talking about business, me trying to learn, get his brains, and basically having a very insightful conversation, like always. And like always, it's a raw and organic conversation. So stay tuned and have a listen to this podcast. I think it's very insightful. It's going to help you if you're a small business owner. And if you do like it, just make sure that you send Arman a hi or a Sleepy Owl a follow, and maybe have their coffee and let me know how it was. Bye. Hello and welcome to this amazing new episode of Raw and Organic Podcast. My name is Kunal Rajput, your host, and today we have a very interesting guest. Today we have an individual who is an entrepreneur and has started a very successful coffee business over the years. And if you are a coffee lover, you might have tried his coffee already. And it's one of my favorite coffee brands. This particular conversation is going to be a very interesting conversation because he is also a fitness enthusiast. So let's see what kind of parallels we can actually draw from his journey as an entrepreneur and his journey as a fitness enthusiast. And let's see what we can learn from this particular individual. Today we have Arman Sood, the founder of Sleepy Owl Coffee. Hi Arman, how are you doing?
Very well, Kunal. Thank you. Thank you for such a warm introduction. I would take full credit from my team and I for Sleepy Owl Coffee, of course. As far as fitness enthusiast is concerned, yes, I would call myself that. But I think there's still a long way to go. And I think all of us are on that journey of continuous improvement. So I'm enthusiastic, yes. Happy with the current state of affairs, no.
It's basically a never-ending journey, man. Like you never stop being a fitness enthusiast. You just keep honing your love for fitness.
True.
You just keep learning new things over the period of time.
True.
But that's the same thing with coffee, and that's like an amazing segue also, right? Arman, just like straight off the bat, let me introduce you to this particular podcast. I wanted to like learn a lot of things from people who I look up to. And being in fitness industry, it has made me exposed to a lot of people from all walks of life. Okay, it might be like hairdresser coming and working out with me, and say, for example, an entrepreneur like yourself coming and working out with me, to an IITian working out with me, to an engineer working out with me, or to somebody who's just like starting off their journey, who's just a teenager working out with me. But at the same time, you let yourself into their life because you actually start getting into these conversations which are like happening in a very vulnerable state. Because when you're working out, you're vulnerable. You don't have any mask in front of you. It's you. There's no other personality or the facade that you pull off. So I see the most vulnerable version of yourself. And that's why I get to learn a lot of things. Now, fitness as it is exposes you to a lot of other people, as I said. And at the same time, I, as a person, I'm trying to grow my business and I'm trying to grow my personal brand as much as possible. And I'm trying to find parallels between how entrepreneurs find their mojo and how they find their parallel to their fitness journey. So, what kind of like things that they learn in their fitness journey and how they imply and apply all those things in their entrepreneurial career also. So, that is what the conversation is going to be about. And I really hope that you enjoy this conversation because I'm really looking forward to this.
Likewise, Kunal. Likewise. Absolutely.
Awesome. So my first question, man, like it has been a very interesting journey to be a part of the Sleepy Owl Consumer Federation. I don't know if you have that because I've been a part of Unlock has been a part of Sleepy Owl. It has been I don't know how would you put it as like it has been a very massive partner in a way in the last 6 seasons. We have been making sure that we have been sending around 300 or 350 participants, the repeated participants, Sleepy Owl Hamper. And people have been loving it. It has been like a game changer for us, to be honest. So I really wanted to ask you, was Sleepy Owl always the brand that it is right now? Or how would you define Sleepy Owl for yourself?
So, Sleepy Owl, Kunal, has been from the get-go a mission-driven brand, right? And we've been on one singular mission: is to get Indians to drink more coffee, right? We realized very early on that one of the biggest challenges is that drinking coffee can be considered elite or complicated, or people shy away from it, right? So, as a brand, our mission was to make drinking coffee very convenient, very simple, and that journey started 5 years ago, and we're still on that journey, right? Like anything else, when you are on a journey, there is evolution, right? Even if I compare it to fitness, right? Maybe you start with a goal that, okay, this is what I want to look like, or this is what I want to feel like, right? But as you go on that journey, it keeps changing and keeps evolving, and you grow as a person as well, right? So to say 5 years ago when we started Sleepy Owl, did I think of, would it be this way, the way it is today? Yes, at some level, no doubt that this is what we were hoping for and this is what it would look like, but it has evolved a lot, right? Since we're right now talking, let's say at the appearance level, right? What the brand looks like today, it wasn't looking the same way when it started, right? We had this is in fact our third logo and our third attempt at branding it, right? So say someone who discovers the brand today from this podcast, they'd only see this version, right? Version 3.0. They don't know version 1.0 and 2.0, and they'll never know that version, right? But there are customers who've known us since we started and been customers since we started, and they've seen 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0, right?
Getting
So for us also at each of these, say, branding journeys, right? And each branding journey is correlated with a different phase of growth as well, right? When we started in 1.0, we had one SKU, one product. We were available only in Delhi NCR as a brand, right? In 2.0, we started growing a little bit and there was, some amount of pan-India presence. And 3.0 was as recent as 2 years ago when we said, okay, this is the final time we're changing our look and these are the products we're launching and this is how we want to be perceived overall, right? So yeah, it's been a lot of fun, and I have a good feeling that maybe version 4.0 won't involve a rebrand, but it will involve some very interesting surprises from the Sleepy Owl product portfolio and from the brand that might take customers by surprise and say, okay, we didn't expect this. This is not what we thought, but it'll help us expand our reach to newer audiences as well. So yeah, that's kind of our the backdrop.
It's very interesting that you've had like these many changes in the narrative of the brand itself, right? Right from the logo and right from the way that you have been serving your consumers. But has the change in consumer demand or the way that consumers have perceived your products like instigated all these kind of changes in your brand identity over the period of time?
Absolutely, absolutely. So one might, before you start any brand or anything, you have a target audience in your mind, right? Like, okay, this is the person that I want to sell to. Right now, again, I'll compare that to maybe your life as a fitness coach. You're like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I want to target, let's say athletes, right? But as you go in your journey, you might realize that, okay, the kind of stuff that I'm teaching or I'm doing or I'm selling is not meant only for athletes. It's meant for a wider audience, right? And you craft your positioning that way. Maybe, like you said, a lot of teenagers come to you and say, okay, we are going through this cusp for this change and we want your advice and services. So you craft something for them. So when we started, we had an audience profile in mind that we want to target. But over the years, being a brand that is direct to consumer, we talk to our customers, right? We're available to our customers online. We are quirky in our conversation with them. We hear what they have to say and we adapt to what to offer to them. To give you an example, when we started, we were a cold brew coffee brand that was selling
Yeah.
cold brew coffee products, right? It was our customers that said, listen, we want something convenient and something tasty in the hot coffee segment because summers may be in peak summer, garmi din hai, but we still have a hot coffee when we wake up, right? And we realized we are missing out on that entire market of people who want to consume hot coffee, right? But we didn't say, okay, let's just do a copy paste solution and create, and give it to the customers. We had to do it keeping in mind what is authentic to the Sleepy Owl identity, right? And we are the first brand in the country to actually put freshly brewed coffee in a tea bag, right? And do that dip packaging format. And customers have been wowed by that product. And it is our best selling product today.
Plus, it's flavored, right?
Plus, it's flavored. Yeah, it comes in different flavors, which is another unique aspect to it. And that was through customer demand. So when we launched the product, we didn't launch it with flavors. We launched it without flavors. 1 year of doing that, customers were like, why don't you flavor this? And we said, okay, we didn't really think too deeply about that, and we didn't know there was a demand for that. And when that was introduced, it was well taken by customers, right? So I think again, this parallel applies in the journey of, let's put it 3 ways, right? As a brand, we have to listen to our customers. As a person who's a fitness coach, you need to listen to what your audience wants from you. And as a person who is a fitness enthusiast or an individual, you have to listen to your body, right? You have to know how far you can push yourself, what your body is capable of. So listening and making those changes and adapting is continuous across the spectrum. And that has to be an inherent learning for everyone.
Exactly. I mean, exactly. Like, I draw so many parallels from this particular journey that you've had with Sleepy Owl itself, because I don't know if you know about Unlock, but Unlock basically started off as an Instagram based live session, right? And it was always supposed to be focusing on a particular demographic, which is like people who know things, people who really appreciate high level of fitness programming and stuff like that. But over the period of time, you just talk to people and you realize that, oh, somebody just like said that, you know what, you can actually do this in Zoom. At the same time, you can have like a lot more people. Like, it is a good point, it is a valid point, and it can actually be applied. So might as well just try it. And once you just try that, it kind of like is a game changer in a lot of other things, because then you see that, oh, you're opening your services to a different demographic altogether. And that is like a much bigger market than what you were serving earlier. And it has been a game changer. So from what I have learned from your particular journey and from my journey also, and I think a lot of listeners can also learn from this particular thing, is you have to listen to the people that you are providing services to. You have to listen to your consumers. You have to make sure that you are inevitably serving them.
Yeah.
And you have to make sure that you're making them happy. And Sleepy Owl has been doing that like since forever. I just wanted to ask you, like, where do you source your coffee from?
So we source our coffee from Chikmagalur, Karnataka. It's all Indian coffee. When we started our journey, it was pure 100% Arabica coffee in all our products. But as we grew, customers wanted a variety of products, right? So we launched a filter coffee recently, which is a blend of Robusta, a very good quality Robusta, and chicory as well, right?
Chicory.
So we mixed and matched, into our newer launches. We are innovating and experimenting there as well. But our core is, it's not about Arabica or Robusta. It is about providing a great quality cup of coffee, right? That is the ultimate goal. That, the ultimate cup that a customer drinks has to be delicious and has to come to them in a convenient manner.
You think consumers go into the nuances of what kind of coffee beans are you using and other things like that?
So I feel like, yes, there is a segment of customers that are very concerned about, okay, where the coffee comes from, what is the quality of the coffee, what grade it is, right? And we are sourcing, the best grade of coffee. But in our communication to our customer, that is not the focus. right?
Hmm.
Our focus is convenience. Our focus is ease of brewing, ease of drinking, taste, right? We don't focus on, okay, this is grown at a 3,000 foot elevation in this region with this flavor note, right? Because we believe that the average customer is less interested in those nuances and details and more interested in, a good cup of coffee. Again, a parallel that I would draw is, like you said, there's the kind of person who wants a very sophisticated workout with a personal trainer with a detailed plan. And there's a customer who says, no, I'm happy to, get movement into my system. And therefore, I will come on a Zoom session with 50 other people and unlock, but I will move, right?
Hmm.
So there are, both sides of the spectrum. So you as an
Also,
entrepreneur have to identify, how do you do that balance, right?
also, they won't ask you like what kind of certifications you've done. Like they won't really bother as much
There
unless
are,
and
no,
until
no, Kunal,
there are certain people.
there are certain people who are like, okay, are you certified in this? Are you fair trade certified? Are you organic certified? Right?
Hmm.
So then, when we say that, well, no, we aren't, or that is not our priority right now, or it is going to make our product 10x more expensive if I am, and you won't buy it. That customer has to go elsewhere to find what they are looking for, right? And
Yeah.
I don't believe that Sleepy Owl is the one brand that can cater to every single consumer's needs. And the same way, you're not, the one person who can cater to every single person's fitness needs, right? So you have to find your balance, and what makes you happy, what makes your broad customer happy.
Yeah. So one of the things which kind of like comes into my mind when I think about coffee in general is like it's such a booming industry in terms of how it's like how people first of all it's I kind of like think of coffee as addictive as cigarette, to be honest. I feel that of course it's not that harmful over the period of time, but at the same time I
It's
feel
actually
that
better. It's actually good for you.
yes, but at the same time, you know what I'm talking about, right? You just get dependent on it, and at the same time, the better coffee you have, the more you want it, because the more you like, it's like wine. It's you start understanding the different nuances and different things like that. But when you talk about it, coffee as a business and coffee providers are growing in this country, left, right, and center. So when you're talking about the narrative that you've set for yourself, is like, okay, we are not talking about how are we talking to people, or we are showing the people that okay, you know what, these are the quality of beans that we are getting in, we are only getting in Indian beans and stuff like that. Your narrative is totally different. So how do you come up with a narrative, and like do you keep changing that narrative, or like how do you create a brand personality of your own? The reason I'm asking so is because as a personal brand, be in fitness or be it whoever is listening, that might be anyone, an influencer also, that particular person needs to understand like how to sell themselves and what is the right target audience, right? So how did you come across that?
Okay. So I don't think a narrative can keep changing, right? Unless there's a broad, strong, big enough reason for you to change that narrative. But our narrative came out of our personal experience, right?
Mhm.
Enjoyed drinking coffee, but didn't have access to the best quality coffee in a convenient manner, whether that's office or home, or I had to spend too much going to certain cafes. It just felt that, the gap in the consumers of our age group is getting good coffee in a convenient manner, right? And that is
Getting it.
why the narrative throughout has been the with the focus on convenience, right? And the other thing was, as we when we started, we identified ourselves as the target consumer, right? कि यार, अगर ये होता तो हम खरीदते, हाँ खरीदते, right?
Mhm.
So we said, okay, what are the problems that we face? And one of the problems we faced is, or I faced at that point, is that I had no inclination or interest to learn how to use certain brewing equipment and actually put in the time and energy to grind fresh coffee every day. I'm not saying that's a bad thing for those who want to do it, right? But there are some, who don't want to, right? And we said, okay, that's going to be the audience that we're going to go after, right? The person who is very self-motivated, self-driven, wants to learn, gets that extra information, invests that time and energy, they'll go ahead and do it anyway, right? But we said the rest of the audience is who we want to go after and make them Sleepy Owl customers.
You know, like when I think of Sleepy Owl, I always think of it as, you know, there was something which is called as quartz revolution in the watch industry. In 1970s, there was this company, massive company called as Seiko. So before 1970s, there was always like Swiss-made watches, extremely nuanced handmade watches, where people were like appreciating the man hours that were put into those luxury watches, right? And then Seiko came up with this one movement, the quartz movement. They realized that if you put electric charge to a quartz crystal, it basically vibrates at the same frequency that a second vibrates at. And that single-handedly destroyed the entire Swiss watchmaking industry to the point that HMT in India was also destroyed, right? I feel what Sleepy Owl has done, it's not like completely destroyed the nuanced coffee makers who are like really going out and looking at the AeroPress or those mocha pot or those expensive espresso machines, but it's focusing on a different clientele altogether. It's basically a gateway to a lot of people for finding their love for coffee. And I think that's amazing. You guys are like really pulling off something like pretty revolutionary in this country. So kudos to you guys, man.
Thank you. In fact, I would say even people, who do use an AeroPress or have espresso machines at home, we still fit into their lives in a, basis a different time of consumption, right? Mm-hmm. I might wake up and have some time and I use an AeroPress or, a mocha
That's
pot.
Therapeutic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's therapeutic and you have time to do it, you do it. But when I go to office or I'm going, to a different city all of a sudden, right? Sleepy Owl's products come in handy then as well, right? Where you're like, okay, I could do this at a certain time of consumption and I could do this at a different time of consumption. So that's where we are still finding relevance, right? Like I said, maybe a few minutes earlier, the goal is, I doubt, that we'll be able to completely 100% be the only coffee in a person's cabinet, right? Mm-hmm. But I think currently within 5 years to just be a part of that cabinet feels like a big thing.
And I think that is the main goal for a lot of other brands also, right? Just to be relevant over the period of time and just to make sure that, the consumers are always going to get spoiled. They're always going to have like a lot of options.
True.
Just to be one of those options is like winning the lottery, to be honest. And I personally feel that you guys are on that particular journey. At least in my particular cabinet, you guys are like very prominent. And all the people who have been trained by me are actually getting Sleepy Owl coffee. So that is amazing. On that note, let's take a small break and we'll come back in a minute and we'll have a more in-depth conversation about fitness now. And let's see where you are. What are you looking forward to in life?
Hey everybody, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Raw and Organic, Kunal is joined by Divyanka Bedi, aka Gigi. She's the owner of a fitness studio called The Space in Mumbai. They discuss how the pandemic changed everything and how to start building a community. One of our favorite shows, The Habit Show, completes 3 years and 600 episodes. Congratulations to Ashton and the rest of his team. Good habits lead to consistency. Ashton clearly has them. 3 years and 600 episodes is an amazing achievement. In the world of Simplified, Chuck, Naren, Shriketh, and Tony try to find out how distressing it is for billionaires to be taxed on their income. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk unpack the findings of the National Family Health Survey. And on Paisa Vaisa, Anupam talks to Preeti Khurana. She's the Director of Advocacy and Regulation at Clear, and they discuss filing your income tax return. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And also do check out our YouTube channels. We have a number of them. You can get them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And remember, if you're enjoying this show, or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. It really does help us spread the word. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for the network this week: Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch, Kuber, Intel, and Oxfam India. Thank you so much for making this possible.
Welcome back to Raw and Organic. We are in conversation with Arman Sood. It's been an amazing conversation. If you guys haven't noticed it, I know a thing or two about coffee, and I have been a coffee enthusiast since the last 5 years of my life. And I won't lie, before Sleepy Owl came in, it was a pretty expensive affair, to be honest. So thank you, Sleepy Owl, for making it a bit more convenient. And so, Arman, your target audience has been the general population altogether. But tell me one thing. Do you actually think of getting something, a product, only for people who are into fitness?
Okay, so let's put it this way: most of our products, except the ready-to-drink, right, are absolutely sugar-free. Are in fact the easiest and most convenient way to make a black coffee, right? And as you may know, and I've heard that you recommended this a lot on your classes as well, that a black coffee, a plain black coffee without anything added to it, no milk, no sugar, is actually the best pre-workout, right? So yes, we already have something in our portfolio that's amazing for the fitness community. And that's one of the reasons why I loved, partnering with you, right? Because I knew that working with you, we will get our product to the right audience who will understand it, who will consume it and will enjoy drinking it, right? And that is why, working with fitness enthusiasts or with people in fitness, our product does really well. Yes, our ready to drink milk based cold coffees currently have a little bit of sugar. They're all under 100 calories, but we are working on an option that is without any sugar, and we're also working on a keto coffee. And we have a few other things in the pipeline that I won't reveal just yet. But there's a lot being done to improve and create products that are for people who are extremely health conscious, because we feel that's where the market is going and that's where we want to be.
A lot of people wonder why coffee is a great pre-workout drink. Would you like to say something about it? Why do you think coffee is a pre-workout?
It's a 0-calorie energy booster. So there's nothing more to say. Like, it gets your blood pumping, it gets you geared up, gets you alert, and all at 0 calories, right?
Yes.
Also, to add to that, a lot of people might disagree with me, but I find black coffee extremely tasty.
Yeah, it's the better if black coffee is made well. It's one of the best things that you can actually have. So first of all, for those of you who have no idea why a coffee as a pre-workout works really well, it's because in the most basic terms, it kind of mimics this hormone that your body secretes when you are getting tired. And the coffee molecules and those stress hormone molecules are kind of identical. So when you drink coffee, the molecules go in and settle up in the stress receptors, and it kind of makes your brain believe that it's not tired. So what's happening is, whenever you're drinking coffee, you are telling your brain that you're not tired, and it feels that it's more energized. As simple as that. That's why Red Bull has caffeine. That's why most of the energy drinks has caffeine. That's why pre-workouts, over-the-counter pre-workouts, which a lot of supplements are being used, are predominantly only caffeine and taurine. So that's why coffee really works amazing as a pre-workout drink. Not only that, it really works well. As he said, it's 0 calories. So it really works well if you're doing intermittent fasting. So that's a knowledge bomb for you guys if you didn't know about. So please have coffee and then try to work out. It's going to be an amazing workout. So that's that. Coming back to this entire topic, and this is like a beautiful segue for introducing fitness. What is your fitness regime like?
Okay. So before, I was thinking when you sent me the question that fitness regime, right? Or fitness enthusiast, and we use this term a few times, right? But I look at myself, Kunal, to be very honest, as a sports enthusiast first. So I'm a sports enthusiast more than a fitness enthusiast, right? But to be a sports enthusiast or to be someone who is good at sport, right, you need to, at some level, have a good fitness, right? And that's where the two come in. So I've grown up playing sport. And I have clearly noticed that every time, in my life, when I'm at my fittest, right, that's when the impact on my sport shows in the best way, right? And I've realized that if you want to improve your performance in sport, right, you have to work behind the scenes in getting fit, right? So yes, I'm interested in fitness. I work out quite regularly, but the goal of the workout for me isn't to necessarily, it's not aesthetic. It's entirely how can I work out, or what can I do in my fitness regime that will help me play my sport better, right? So that's my motivation, right? And for me, I think what's worked out best, Kunal, is CrossFit, right? I feel like, had periods of irregularity in the last couple of years since my business has started. And since I have a lot of pets, I have a couple of cats and a couple of puppies, and I have quite a busy home life. And my fitness regime has been quite irregular. And I'm being vulnerable when I share this, right? Because I'm not perfect. Nobody is, right? I wish that I was more regular. I wish there was more dedication and discipline in my fitness regime. Currently, there isn't. But the objective is always to focus on movement, focus on being able to work out in a way that allows me to run faster, jump higher, and prevent me from getting injured, right? Because I think when you play sport, you are putting yourself in a position of injury. And if you're not fit or if your muscles are not ready, you will get injured, right? So which is why I have to focus and make sure I work out in a way to allow myself to play to the best of my ability. So that's my mantra on fitness.
That's amazing, man. I understand where you're coming from when you say that you're vulnerable in terms of like sharing the entire thing, because a lot of people think of whenever we speak about fitness enthusiasts and whenever we are talking to people who are coming on this podcast as a guest, they inevitably think that this particular person is going to be the fittest person that they're going to like listen to. And that is not the idea of this podcast. The idea of this podcast is to make sure that you talk to humans who are leading normal lives and who are trying to find or create that kind of balance in their work life, as well as finding movement or finding that love for movement. Now, that movement can be sport. In your case, it's football, if I'm not wrong.
Correct.
That movement can be dance, that movement can be running, that movement can be anything. But you guys need to understand, people who are listening, that it's difficult for each and every one of them to find that balance. It's very difficult because when things get hectic and when life is happening, you are always going to get overwhelmed and you're always going to deprioritize things which are not immediately giving you returns. And fitness is one of those things which is not going to give you immediate returns unless and until you are like taking that kind of inward journey and you're finding that kind of sensitive area where you kind of realize that, oh, if I don't work out, these are the things which are going to happen. These are things which are going to happen. But if you are like being numb to that over the period of time, you won't even bother. I hope people who are listening understanding what I'm trying to say. I know that Arman is nodding over here, so he understands. But nonetheless, Arman, I understand where you're coming from, and a lot of people can relate to you. But I really hope that you find good balance in your work life as well as your fit life or as your fitness journey, and try to make sure that you move as much as possible. That's
Absolutely.
all about it. That is the whole point, man. Like doing something that you love and doing it regularly and being consistent. That is all we want. Because after a point, I don't feel that you need to get better, because just being at the place where you are is much more rewarding than not being that at a place which is like,
Backward. Yeah, I
backward.
think
Exactly.
even if you're not moving forward, don't move backward.
That is it. That is it. That is the whole point. So
Yeah.
that's that. Now, one of the questions which I always ask and which has been like a staple for me is finding the parallels between your fitness journey and the things that you've learned with your sport, movement, or whatever that you have applied to your entrepreneurial journey. For example, me, I have always been that person who has been finding it extremely difficult to go out and move. But whenever I have moved, I have understood that my body has immediately shown returns. It has been stronger, it has been leaner, it has been the way that I wanted to, and I've felt better. So that made me realize that, you know what, if I actually move and if I actually do something consciously, the returns for me particularly are going to be immediate. And that applies to me whenever it comes to like my entrepreneurial work also. So for example, with Unlock, if I think of something like, okay, you know what, this particular month, I might as well just do 3 particular workshops in 3 different cities all over India. And I procrastinated about it for like 2 seasons, and now I'm just doing it, and I realize that, oh, it's booked in the next 2 hours. So you see, the returns are always there, but I just need to move, and that I learned through my fitness journey, because I realize how my body works, I realize how I work, and that is about it, right? So what is that one takeaway that you've learned from your fitness journey that you've applied in your entrepreneurial journey?
I think I don't know if the answer to this would be okay. One takeaway would be that I feel like the moment you allow yourself that hour of, where you're not on your phone, you're not talking to people, but you're focused on your workout and yourself, right? You're doing, you're doing 10x for the rest of the 23 hours around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the moment you go and say, okay, I want to take steal this 1 hour, because as life gets very, very busy, right? It's about stealing that time from your day and say, no, I will apply it to me. My mental health, my physical health, get rid of any frustration that's there. And the automatic impact of that is on your work. You get ideas, you have clarity of thought, you have more energy through the day. And the days you don't do that, right? You feel more lethargic, more lazy, more confused, less, excited about your day, right? And that's why, like I said, I've been irregular with my workouts, but when I do work out, I always prefer morning, because there is just this calm in, okay, I'm done. My day has started. I'm excited. I'm energetic, and the day always goes better when I work out in the morning. Of course, the times when I work out in the evening, it's always rushed. It's always that, okay, I have to leave work. I have to cancel calls. I have to move things around to do that in the evening, which is why I'm not a 100% morning person. I'm not claiming that, but I try to be, and I find that as a more peaceful time to be energized, because then I can apply it to the rest of the day, which is your work day.
Totally can relate to it. Whenever you said that just getting in that one workout for yourself makes the entire day better and much more productive, I can totally relate to that. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can relate to that, because I think it's like one of the hardest thing that you're going to do consciously is getting checked off the first thing in the morning. And then you are like on it. Then you are actually doing everything with a lot more focus. So a lot of people can relate to that. And that is where I draw the line, and I won't take too much time of you, Arman. It has been an amazing conversation. We've learned a lot of things. Thank you for sharing your journey. Thank you for
having me and allowing me to share some of these things with everyone who's going to hear it. It's always a pleasure to share your experiences.
Yeah, man. We wish Sleepy Owl all the best, and we wish that you guys grow and really change the face of the entire coffee industry in this country, because I think this country is waiting for Sleepy Owl to go to the masses, and it's going to explode for sure. And really looking forward for that process. And Arman, before we actually roll down the credits, I wanted to ask you one particular question that a lot of people are going to ask or have been asking you. Why is the name of the brand Sleepy Owl?
Okay. So Sleepy Owl as a term is an oxymoron, which basically is two words that are contradictory to each other, right? So I mean, when you think of coffee, most people think of, okay, I'm sleepy, I'm tired, I want a cup of coffee to wake up, right? And owls stay awake at night. And, prior to starting Sleepy Owl, I used to be a lawyer, and we've had a lot of sleepless nights like Ullus. And we just said, this is the, it's one of the first names that actually came to our mind. And we just, went with our heart and said, let's just stick to it. Dikha jayega. And, luckily it's got people are excited and like the name. And it's always a good thing to, have a good name in a consumer industry, because you want people to remember. And that's why I actually love Unlock very much as well. It's so simple, but it's so unique and it's very memorable, right? Because tomorrow when you want your students to tell other people about, oh, I'm doing this plan, I'm doing this exercise, I'm working out with this person, this is what I'm doing, it should be memorable, right? And Unlock to me is quite memorable. And the same way I feel Sleepy Owl is something that it can be easy to remember and talk about, right? So that's the logic behind the name.
Dude, it's such an amazing, and I think that kind of like sets the end. I think the name itself set the narrative for the entire brand itself. And now, after those three logos, you guys are like killing it. So that's that. Thank you, Arman. Thank you for sharing everything that you have shared over here. It was very insightful. I've learned a lot. And before we end this, how do we reach out to you?
Okay, I'm available, you can share my phone number, my email ID, which is my name, sootharman@gmail.com. And I'm available on Instagram as Sootharmonster.
And what is the Instagram handle for Sleepy Owl?
It's @Sleepy Owl Coffee.
Awesome. So that's that, guys. It was a very pleasant, very insightful conversation with Arman Sood, the founder of Sleepy Owl Coffee. And we've learned a lot of things from his entrepreneurial and his fitness journey. And looking forward to do this again, Arman, in a different phase of your career and a different phase of my career. Let's do this again, man. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Eventually, you'll see the end of your childhood.
Get accustomed to womanhood.
Enjoy the experience of sisterhood.
Might get to wifehood.
Or not. Choose motherhood.
Or not. You'll learn to define your personhood.
Earn a livelihood.
Change the neighborhood.
And get rid of the falsehood that life post-academia is easy.
So join me, Ritasha.
And me, Ayushi.
On a journey from station starting point.
To station, what now?
Next station, Pudil station. And hopefully, Agla station, adulthood.
Fresh episodes out every Thursday.
Do you like true crime stories?
Do you like to learn about the people behind some horrible, awful crimes?
More specifically, women that may have committed these crimes.
Actually, Indian criminals that are women?
Then we'd like to welcome you to our podcast, Misconduct. My name is Raghavi.
And I am Nisha.
We cover themes like murder, dacoity, drug trafficking, financial fraud, kidnapping, and many more.
You can catch us every Wednesday on the IVM Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcast.